Hi, this is AMK. This is just a quick dive into Dr. Phil Astin, the doctor that I talked about in part 5, the one who prescribed almost all of the medication found in the Benoit home. So let's look at what happened to Dr. Astin. Okay, so I have a timeline of articles that I found, and I'm going to just go through these really quick. From June 28th, 2007. And reminder, these deaths occurred June 22nd, 23rd, and 24th, 2007. And the welfare check was June 25th, 2007, and that's when they discovered this crime scene. So 3 days later, June 28th, 2007, the DEA raids the office of Chris Benoit's doctor. Quote, "There's definitely a nexus between the death investigation and the steroids that were given to Mr. Benoit. After Benoit killed his wife and son and then committed suicide over the weekend, police found prescription medications, including steroids, in his Fayetteville, Georgia home." But again, do you see, 3 days later, and the media is already reporting that this is a murder-suicide. So what kind of investigation could there have been? This goes on to say they arrived at Astin's office around 10 p.m., spent about 4 hours on the premises reviewing records and removing documents. What is funny about that is, remember, the police at the Benoit home? I mean, the scope of what they had to collect in evidence was just too much, that they had to call it a night and come back in the morning. Well, right here, the DEA, they show up at 10 p.m., spend 4 hours on the premises reviewing records and removing documents. Just as a comparison. And then it goes on to say that they're saying, sure, steroids can be legally prescribed by physicians, but at this early stage in the investigation, quote, "we just don't know what the medical situation was and to what extent steroids played a part in Benoit's action." And they say the doctor is a person of interest to us at this stage. And I'll put links to this that you can follow this and read this on your own. I just wanted to go through this really quick and give you a run through of this Dr. Astin. So that is the People magazine article. And then let's see, what do we have? And also I just want to point out that we know that what the police found in the home so far was a lot of prescription pain medicine, and I believe there was some testosterone found. But notice, it seems like it's the media that keeps pushing the steroid story. Let me show you how this little timeline here goes. So they raided Dr. Astin's office the 28th. So now, July 2nd, we have this article from CBS News that the dead wrestler's doctor faces charges. July 2nd, 2007, the personal doctor of a pro wrestler who killed his wife and son before committing suicide. Again, they're just throwing that in everybody's face first. And then it goes on, was charged Monday with improperly dispensing painkillers and other drugs to other patients. Now notice in this article, it's not mentioning steroids, it's just painkillers and other drugs. The 7-count indictment said Dr. Astin, physician to wrestler Chris Benoit, dispensed drugs including Percocet, Xanax, Lorcet, and Vicoprofen between April 2004 and September 2005. The recipients were identified in the indictment by the initials OG and MJ. Benoit's initials were not listed. U.S. Magistrate Judge Linda Walker ordered Astin held in lieu of $125,000 bond and said that regardless of whether he came up with the money, he would be in jail overnight and he would be under house arrest once he posts bond. And then next we have from July 3rd, 2007. Now this article says, Benoit doc busted for roids. Wrestler Chris Benoit's personal physician was giving him massive amounts of steroids, painkillers, and other drugs. And the law was on to the doctor before what authorities say was Benoit's murder-suicide rampage, according to federal prosecutors. Funny how they call it a rampage, and yet in the police reports, the police consistently say there was no signs of a struggle in the home, but yet this was a roid rage rampage, right? So he was indicted on 7 counts for providing illegal prescriptions to Benoit and others. Now see, the one that we just looked at said Benoit was not named in this indictment. And that one also didn't say anything about steroids. Remember, let's go back. This one just said he was charged with improperly dispensing painkillers and other drugs, and says Benoit's initials were not listed. Right here. But now this one day later, it's a rampage, and it was massive amounts of steroids. You want to know something? I have the indictment, so we can look and we can find out. And then we don't have to worry about what media want to say and what they want to spin on it, because we have the indictment and we can see for ourselves what it says. But let's go back to our timeline. It says here that according to the search warrant affidavit, a preliminary review of Dr. Astin's prescription writing activity indicates that he authorized approximately 1 million dosage units of various pharmaceutical controlled substances in the last 2 years. Among those units were prescriptions for a wide variety of steroids, painkillers, and mood-altering drugs, including testosterone, Xanax, Adderall, Concerta, hydrocodone, oxycodone, and Soma, which were consistent in terms of quantities, dosages, and frequencies of the prescriptions with illegal prescription drug abuse. And based on what I saw and what I showed you in part 5, I agree with that. But 1 million dosage units. That's a heck of an approximation. So what else do we have? Let's see. Okay, now we're on a chat forum, pro wrestling chat, and this is from July 5th. We have a post. TMZ is reporting that they have learned that current WWE SmackDown wrestler Rey Mysterio, real name Oscar Gutierrez, and former WWE wrestler Mark Jindrak are the 2 other wrestlers named in an indictment against the physician currently involved in the Chris Benoit double murder-suicide investigation. When contacted, a WWE spokesperson told TMZ, "We cannot comment on this ongoing investigation at this time." And then this is interesting because here it says, however, sometime between the hours of 4 o'clock p.m. and 5 o'clock p.m. Eastern Time today, the website removed the story. The original link for the story now redirects to the main page of the website. The belief right now is that they removed the statement as they feel that the initials in the indictment, OG and MJ, may not represent Mysterio and Jindrak. Source from WrestleZone. Booyaka, booyaka. And now we have July 8th, 2007. And CBS Evening News. Doctor probed in death of second pro wrestler. Federal authorities have already indicted Dr. Phil Astin on 7 counts of overprescribing painkillers and other drugs to 2 of his patients. Dr. Astin allegedly prescribed these drugs like candy without regard for appropriate medical practice or recipient's health. Now the Georgia doctor facing life in prison on those charges is also under the microscope for the deaths of 2 pro wrestlers who were his patients. Michael Durham, aka Johnny Grunge, who died in his sleep in February 2006, and Chris Benoit, WWE's star wrestler, whose shocking death ignited an investigation into prescription drug and steroid abuse. Police found anabolic steroids prescribed by Dr. Astin inside Benoit's home after he allegedly strangled his wife and son before hanging himself in late June. Now, it did say that they did find testosterone, and later it does say that they found steroids. Although they were found, were they used? Was there evidence that they were used? But, now, it's interesting because this article then goes on to say, according to the search warrant, Astin prescribed Benoit with a 10-month supply of steroids every 3 to 4 weeks between May of 2006 and May of this year. So, is there evidence of that in the police files of what they found in the home? We'll find out. And then still, Dr. Astin's attorney says there's no link to steroids charged against him. There's nothing. There's nothing sensational in this case. No link to steroids, which I find interesting. Then this article goes on to say, steroid use has greatly increased in sports from baseball to wrestling over the last decade. Then they go on to talk about the toxicology reports, of course, are still pending, but they're just pretty sure it's those steroids, right? What else could it be? That's what they want you to think. What else could it be? And now I have an archived article from May 31st, 2008. Benoit whitewash in northern Georgia continues with new indictment of Dr. Astin. Now, this is very interesting. There's 175 new counts. There's a new indictment that was filed against Dr. Astin. So that means that this supersedes the previous indictment. So this article is saying, wow, 175 new counts, but you're missing the point. The new indictment, which I have, replaces the original one of last summer, but what it subtracts is a lot more important than what it adds. It goes on to say the massive evidence of Astin's promiscuous steroid prescriptions, including Benoit's vaunted 10-month supply every 3 to 4 weeks. Poof! Instead, the superseding indictment is all about painkillers and anti-anxiety agents, Percocet, OxyContin, Lorcet, Xanax, Soma. I would like to argue here that the reason that is gone and there was a new indictment filed is because perhaps there was no evidence of that nefarious steroid prescription. Maybe it wasn't. Because I think that if they were confident in the evidence that they had, that they could get a charge to stick, so to speak, they would have kept it in the indictment. If there's more to this, where there's more corruption, even another layer deep, that the prosecutors are burying this information, then okay. But if they had that much power to do that, then why not shut the media up too about talking about it being about steroids? So it can't be both ways. So which is it? And in this indictment, it does list Chris Benoit and Nancy Benoit in the indictment as patients that were being overprescribed. And then check it out. Then on January 14th, 2009, Chris Benoit's physician goes to trial without facing steroid distribution charges. Okay, so they completely knocked out the steroid distribution. So how can they argue then that it was roid rage that caused Chris Benoit to murder his wife and son? I think I'm asking a logical question, but I will leave links to these articles below. You can read through them on your own and see what you think. And then Benoit's doctor, May 12th, 2009, sentenced to 10 years in jail. The personal doctor to a professional wrestler who killed himself, his wife, and their 7-year-old son was sentenced to 10 years in prison on Tuesday for illegally distributing prescription drugs to patients. He pled guilty to 175 counts, and then it goes on to say he says he takes full responsibility. Astin told the judge, "I am sorry I hurt so many lives. I was thinking that I was looking after my patients." Okay, so where are the media people then saying, this guy's saying he's taking full responsibility? So why is WWE still trying to bury Benoit's name? Logical questions somebody needs to ask. And then I have this archived. This is from the Atlanta Journal-Constitution from Thursday, June 11th, 2009. So a few months after Dr. Astin is found guilty and sentenced, then you have Nancy Benoit's mother filing a civil suit against Dr. Astin, a wrongful death suit, claiming the doctor and distributors prescribed drugs that caused Benoit to strangle his wife Nancy and smother 7-year-old son Daniel inside their Fayette County home. It says the suit alleges that Astin has a responsibility to monitor Benoit and warn him of the side effects of the drugs. I don't feel that this lawsuit should hold any water. I don't know if anything came of it, but Nancy Benoit's name was included in that indictment. So I don't see how they could say he should have warned Chris Benoit about the dangers and the side effects when Nancy, it looks to me, was the one who really had the problem with them. And I mean no disrespect to Nancy's family. It's a horrible situation, but I'm just calling the facts like I see them. You come up with your own opinion. And I just want to throw this in here at the end because when you dig into stuff like this, you always find layers. There is always layers. The further you dig, you always find more things and they get more and more strange the deeper you dig. So I also found this. It's sort of off to the side here because it's in this blog, and this is saying that An interesting twist to this story, the Atlanta Journal-Constitution's website reveals that Dr. Phil Astin Jr., the father of Benoit's doctor, had his medical license suspended for illegally prescribing painkillers to 14 patients in a period of time from the 1970s to 1989. He agreed to pay a fine on top of a 30-day license suspension and had to follow strict rules and oversight with writing prescriptions. He eventually had his license restored. However, sadly, he committed suicide by shooting himself in 2005. So, if you remember the date in the one article, it said 2004 to 2005 was around the time that Phil Astin III, Benoit's doctor, started getting in trouble for overprescribing medications. So, anyway, I do have the indictment, the United States of America against Phil Astin, and I also have the indictment that Nancy's mother filed against Dr. Astin. If you want me to do a video where I go through it, just leave a comment and I can do that. But I just wanted to throw this out there really quick to give you a little bit of info into Dr. Astin. I still have the next part coming soon where we look closer at the crime scene reports, where each individual person wrote up a report of what their task was and how they carried it out and things that they found. So we're going to look into those in the next part coming up. So this has been AmK. Thank you for watching. If you want me to do more little shorts like this where I just kind of add in extra things from the videos, just let me know. And that's all. Hope you have a great day. Bye.